Hello, everyone. Welcome to Real Estate Right Now. We talk about real estate matters that matter to you. My name is Jay Izzo, and we are live here from Linda Craft Team Studios here in Raleigh, North Carolina, part of the Greater Research Triangle Park Today's show. People want to know, how does land get developed and then you put houses on it, and how does that whole process work? And speaking of houses, how do you build that, and the pricing, and what are the complications with the whole thing? So I figured, oh gosh, I got to have an expert. Who am I going to find an expert? And then, you know what? First person came to mind. Jim Allen joins me. He's the founder, owner, president of Jim Allen Group. It's Coldwell Banker's #1 sales team. He's also North Carolina Home Builders Association Hall of Fame, and he is also a developer and develops land and has dealt with a lot of new home projects. And I would argue that he's the most prolific one in the Triangle area. So that would be my argument. Some of you may disagree with that. I don't care. I just think that's the truth. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's great to see you, man. Great to see you. Great to see you. We've been friends, by the way, just full disclosure. We've been friends for 30 years. And so to get to do this together, this is really fun for me, and I'm enjoying it.
Same for me.
So let's talk about, you got into this development thing, I would say pretty early on in your real estate career. So I get occasionally people go, yeah, I'd like to get into development. How does that process start if somebody wants to get into this type of a business?
So my story of how I started is a little different than other people. I did it out of necessity because an awful lot of the developers I'd been working with started getting too old and wanting to retire. And, as you age in anything, maybe they lost a little bit of their financial courage and didn't want to do things. But I had this group of builders I knew I needed to be feeding, and these guys needed land in front of them. I would tell you, banking relationships, #1, is super important no matter what. Community banks versus big national banks, because community banks have to loan money in their local economy. That's part of the thing. But I think the biggest thing in being a developer is mitigating risk. And there are risks that hit you from every direction. So when you start, the very beginning pieces of it are, doing a small project takes the same amount of effort a large project takes. But most people, would be like, well, gosh, I want to go do this gigantic project first. You can learn everything you need to do doing these small ones that you can carry over into bigger ones with less risk, because especially when you're doing something the first time, you're always going to make mistakes when you're starting. And one of the biggest challenges in today's world is learning how to deal with stormwater. Stormwater is one of those things that's just out there. You can't, but getting started, I would always say doing it with other people who are already doing it is the easiest way to start. Providing something to them that's of assistance to them, so they'll maybe help you get it done. And what I find is, most people who everybody else thinks are the superstar expert in something can't wait to pass that on to somebody else if they're good people, because they die tomorrow. Who's going to take those reins over?
Right.
And, unless they've got kids or family that they've got selected to do it, most of the older people around me, and I was fortunate. I sat in a room with brilliant guys, a guy named Lewis Dickerson and a guy named Arthur Salmon. I got to sit there and listen to how they thought, not giving them anything, just listening. And I had to do it stealth. Like, no one wanted to know that Jim Allen was developing. So I had to hide. I was developing for 20 years before anybody knew I was doing it, because I wanted to be undercover. I wanted to be supplying lots to people, but I didn't want people to be thinking, well, gosh, he sells me the lots. He's going to be selling to me for too much. Why would I let him sell the houses too? And my end use always was, I was real estate agent first. I want the end use product to be as high as it can be. If I go around just selling lots and making commissions off of that, they're going to be little pennies. I wanted to make whatever the house could sell for. That's where I wanted to be.
So, let's say somebody comes out and says, okay, I found a piece of land. And it's zoned that I could put a number of properties on it, whether it's R4, whatever it may be, right? So should I just go buy that piece of land, or what considerations should you take when you're looking at a piece of land that you're planning to develop?
Never just go buy something, because the truth is, even though the zoning tells you what it can be, each municipality you deal with
Mm.
they never allow maximum density on any property, no matter what. And the local government, whether it's county or whether it's city, wherever you are, they've got an idea of what they want that to be already. And it may be diametrically opposite of however it's zoned. That you want to have a plan in place, but you got to have a seller who is cooperative enough. They understand. You got to find out first, what does that governmental agency want to do with this dirt? Because if I just go close on it, and a lot of people do, and unfortunately, a lot of I don't want to be disparaging to anybody, but a lot of national builders, a lot of people that have these big land gurus, they go just close on things sometimes. And what they close on, they haven't figured out the problems with it yet. And every piece of dirt has some hairs on it. There is no perfect piece. Even if one is a block from your office in the greatest location it could be, there's something with that, or it wouldn't be available. There's some reason somebody else passed on it, and it's the last piece that's left in wherever it is you're looking. And your job as a developer is to figure out what that is as quickly as you possibly can. Things you can't identify and don't know about. Rock can be underneath. We can be looking at a piece of dirt and you don't see a rock on it. And then you go down 3 feet and you're in granite. And, now the cost of removing that rock might be more than the dirt cost was to start out with. If you haven't investigated that on the front end, you're stuck, because now you own it. Or what if a municipality knows, even if it's not on, and that here's a common fallacy. Like, most people think highway plans are, and they are mostly 10, 20, and 40 years scheduled out by the Department of Transportation. When the Department of Transportation decides they want a piece of your dirt, it can be in 2 weeks that they decide that. So one of the things you want to do is make sure that you're looking at all the arteries connecting to you and how they connect, because interconnectivity is a big word to cities, right? So if I have a piece and I can see some stubs in different directions headed towards me, maybe not adjacent to me, but where I can see a thoroughfare might come through on the other side of it, even though the DOT hasn't put it on their maps, it may be something that's coming back to bite me. And when I don't want to sell to them later, they're just going to take it by adverse possession and steal it essentially from you. So that's one fear. Another one, and it's one that people don't look through the layers to figure out: blue line streams. Which if you have a blue line stream on a property, you can only cross it twice. Well, because most of our drinking water system comes from Falls Lake, and all the tributaries that feed into it. And now, whether you're in North Hills, doesn't matter where you are, the setback on these little creeks that used to be 25 feet just got doubled to 50 feet a couple of years ago. You could be trying to buy a lot in North Hills, for example, and you see a house that's 25 feet from that stream, and you think, well, I'll buy that and I'll tear that thing down and get started. Well, no, you won't, because that house is grandfathered in. The new rules say you got to be 50 feet. So you're going to be on the other side of the house before you can start a house. And you may not have a way to get back there. There's a street in North Hills, Wimbledon Street, that has a creek that runs through the front of it like that houses are built all right up against it. And nobody could figure out why I wasn't tearing down the houses on that side. Well, I don't run around and tell people why I'm not. They were all calling, offering those. I knew I couldn't build something over there. Multiple brand new developers who were trying to get into it have gone over there, bought some of these parcels, then gone to the city and start realizing, oh, wait a minute, I can improve that house. So now they've turned it into a flip instead of a new build, but they paid enough for it that it had to be a new build to make money. Now they're flipping it just to get out and hopefully they don't lose but so much money, because that original footprint, as long as you don't enlarge it, change it, you could stay with that original footprint. But if that house burns down, you got to build the same house plan back on it again. You don't get to, oh, I'm going to go build what I want to.
Right. So what we're going to do here real quick is we're going to take just a few minute break and we're going to come right back. Stay with us. All right. This is our moment where we just take a quick little break. So stay with us. We'll be right back right after this. And we're back here on Real Estate Right Now. We talk about real estate matters that matter to you. I'm with Jim Allen, founder, owner, president, Jim Allen Group, jimallengroup.com, North Carolina Home Builders Association Hall of Famer, talking about development, new homes. When you look at land, you gave us a lot of things about development that, you just don't go out and buy a piece of land just to buy a piece of land. When you look at land and you consider all those factors, whether because there's so many of them that you have to prepare for. When you look at it, what's the long-term plan? Are you thinking this is going to take me 6 months, a year, 2 years? How do you plan how long, once you purchase the land, are you planning out?
So unfortunately, in today's market, it's 36 months is early. I'm planning between 36 months and 5 years. That's how long I have to be thinking, because if I'm developing, for example, in Durham, it takes 2.5 years just to get preliminarily entitled. Now I'm preliminary entitled. I know I'm going to go through at least 11 rounds of comments with them with my construction drawings. So and each construction drawing round is going to take a month. So that's adding another month to it. So I'm going to be at a minimum 36 months before I'm to a point that I could even start construction on a neighborhood. Now I'm going to go develop it, because I'm developing in Durham and because of how their inspection department works. And I'm not trying to pick on Durham, I'm just using them as an example.
Sure.
It's going to take me 12 months to put those lots in the ground, versus some other municipalities might be able to do it in 9 months. I'm going to be 12 months in from there. So I'm already 4.5 years. And, I don't know. So then when I'm thinking about it, how do you know what the economy is going to be or what the housing market's going to be 5 years in advance? So I have to bank on the fact that it's going to be slightly worse than it is currently today. That's how I have to pre-plan in order to make this thing work. If it's better, oh boy, I did great. If it's slightly worse, I'm not getting killed, but I'm not doing as well as I should do to do it. When you're doing it, you have to project out a very large profit margin when you're looking at land as to what you want to be able to make, realizing you're going to make half of that. This is your projection, but you're not going to get but half of that because something's going to happen. Either they're going to have a difficult time turning over a stormwater pond. You're going to find that rock. The municipality is not going to let you have as many slices as you wanted to have. All those things are going to happen. So that time frame is so much longer than people believe it is.
Yeah.
There are only a couple of places you can develop quicker than that. One of them being Sanford right now. Sanford doesn't have stormwater regulations. Okay. The state is imposing what they do stormwater wise on them, but it's very minimal. I was developing my first project down there, and the land planner down there said, why'd you put all these stormwater ponds on it? Well, I did because everywhere else I develop, I've got to worry about the runoff from my water source and what's going to happen. Well, down there, they don't care. So I took another 1.5 years getting ponds I'd engineered and something, take it back to an engineer to get them taken off. Again, what I would tell you too, when you're doing business, you may love this particular engineer you're doing business with, but if they're not already doing business in the market you're looking at, find one who is, because local rules change. And the triangle now is not 3 little cities like it used to be. We call it that. The triangle's expanded to 23 counties.
Right.
I mean, 23 counties we're doing business in right now. Didn't want to. Our MLS is even merged that way. We're all the way down on the other side of Fayetteville now in our local MLS. And so understanding that we have to be able to function in this wider circle, because the circle we were functioning in doesn't have any more dirt left in it. So you got to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right. You expand that circle. Yeah.
But even in the local market, if I'm doing something in Knightdale, that's a completely different set of rules than if it's Holly Springs or if it's Apex or it's Cary or it's Wake Forest. Everybody's got a different platform. Okay. Biggest challenge right this moment as a developer, time-wise, is downzoning.
Explain that.
Okay. Downzoning means each city, like let's say, for example, an R4 piece, which you had talked about before, R4, which means you're supposed to be able to put 4 units per acre on it.
That's correct.
You can't put 4 units per acre on it because you have to have roads. You got to have open space. You don't have enough impervious surface left. There's a lot of reasons why that doesn't work, but at least you know what you can do with R4, right? If they downzone, you buy it. And until recently, and thank goodness, our own HBA fought hard for this. The new law says they're not allowed to downzone after you own it without the owner's permission. That's only been in effect 3 months.
Really?
Before this, I own a piece in Knightdale. I've owned since 2012 that they downzoned me right after I bought it. It was GR5, so I could get 5 units per acre. They downzoned me to 1 unit per 2 acres, residential rolling out in the middle of nowhere. And I'm sitting behind town hall. I got 60 acres sitting immediately behind town hall. How could that be out in the, 2 acre? It didn't make sense. They downzoned me because they knew long-term that, number one, they were going to have city water and sewer that came to that location that wasn't currently available. I say I've owned it since 2012. I just got it approved. 14 years. Okay. It's still not developed. I'm still 2 years from having it in the ground. It's going to be 16 years before I have my first lots available for sale, because I thought I got a great deal buying this piece of dirt. Great price, right? But didn't look deep enough, even being experienced. Now, great news. I'm going from 33 lots to 227,
Right.
which that's fantastic.
Right.
But who can afford to hold something for 16 years to
Right.
figure that out? And by the way, it sounds great. Guess what? In that length of time, it doubled in price 5 times what the value of this thing would have been if I had been able to turn it over. I would have already made 5 times the money. Now I'm making better money, but I'm losing money because that money I could have taken out and put somewhere else.
It's tied up.
5 other times has been tied up the whole time.
Right.
Instead of that 3-year turn on my money,
right.
16 years.
Right. So what a great example of this. So when you get the development, let's say you get everything approved, you got this property, and how does the builder part come in? Where do you get the builders from? Do you pitch builders? Do you have a builder team? How did you get those? What goes into that piece?
I'll tell you that next, but because there's one more piece before we get there, because we're approved. We think we got everything going right this minute, right now, right? No, because now we have to get a developer agreement signed with the town planners, not city council anymore, not just getting that thing approved. Now, even after they've approved me and I thought I got everything I want, now I got a developer agreement I've got to sign with that municipality that tells me what kind of side, what I can do with that property. And they're still holding the strings because until we get this signed developer agreement, which if I just agree to all and I'm not going to call it blackmail, what's a better word? Coercion that they want me to do, I'm going to be fighting. I could be fighting them for a long period of time. Right. If I just go ahead and agree to everything he said, then I won't make any money and I probably won't be able to develop half lots I was going to do. So there's multiple fights before you get to the point of the builder part. That's the simple part. The putting the builder part together. Builders can't build. I don't know if anybody knows this. Builders cannot build houses without dirt. Dirt is essential to the building process.
Right.
So they are all, if they're not developers themselves, they're out there looking for who's going to supply me with something I can count on.
Right.
Okay. If I'm having to plan out 5 years, they're having to do the same thing in their building company, right?
Right.
If I'm not reliable in delivering those lots and they've got me on their 5-year target out here, I'm going to develop. Now at the last minute, they're going to have to panic and go buy something they didn't want to buy, which means they may overpay for it or other things.
Right.
I've got to know that far out. The banks that you do business with on the front end, the more they trust you, the less they need somebody to be on the hook besides you already.
Right.
But when you're initially starting as a developer, they want your lots under contract with a builder before you even get them approved. They're already looking for you to have these things sold.
Whoa. Wait. I'm going to back the train up here. So you just can't buy, if you want to get a loan on this property, you can't just purchase the property. You have to make sure that you've got builders ready to go is it a commitment or have they already put money in the skin in the game?
They're going to have to sign an LOI that's got some skin with it, with you, for the bank to feel like, oh, wait a minute, when we get to the end of this, there's nobody here to buy, right?
Right.
The more the bank starts trusting you, the less that's necessary. But if you're new to the game, they want those lots under contract day one. Okay. And the problem with that, if I'm doing something, I'm putting it under contract back here. Do you think the builder is going to project out an appreciation 5 years away when they're paying this right now? No, they want to buy it at today's price.
Right.
Now, as a developer, how does that kill me? I don't get the market appreciation that the market got because a bank is scared and wants me to go out here. Now, what I'm fortunate enough in doing is I've been doing this. Gosh, this is my 35th year as a developer. So I've been doing this long enough that I have a track record that people follow me and trust me, and they know I'm going to put them out there in front of them, and they are willing to commit to something right here, realizing the projected value may increase. Most new developers aren't going to get that. And most companies, especially The larger the builder they deal with, the less likely they're going to be working with you because they may take a large portion of those off your hands.
Mm,
And they feel like that gives them leverage against you.
right.
So putting those builder teams together, the hardest science to it is figuring out who can work together.
Ooh.
Not collude, not be one price, because you want them all to do something slightly different, right? That would be your goal.
Right.
Differentiation creates competition that also allows the market, because the market's what dictates price, not us. I wish we did.
We don't.
We're not gurus. Nobody is. The market dictates that price. We build a product we hope meets what the market wants, but we don't find out until we really start. So we're gambling in the beginning. We're builders, developers, anybody on that side of it is a professional gambler. But what they're trying to do is limit the risk.
Right.
Like they're trying to get the house odds in their favor.
Right.
And it is I'm going to tell you, it is not for the faint at heart or weak-minded, because you can be riding a project out and think you've got it all made. Well, what happens if during that process, and most of these council members are only in office for 2 years.
Right.
If we're going 5 years on one of these projects, council might turn over 3 times within that 1 5-year span.
Right.
This one back here may want everything you got. Then the next one coming might say, shelve that, come back out with something brand new. And I have a neighborhood I just got approved in Holly Springs that went through 3 councils, and we're back to the original plan we were going to do. And we're on our 5th iteration of plans, because each new council members that came in wanted something different, until finally at the end, the original guys live next door to this neighborhood, and now they want to go back to bigger lots again. I've never had a municipality tell me, hey, I want more lots, not less. So, okay, great. So we go develop programs for more, right?
Right.
At the last minute, a new council member lives next door to the project. I'm like, not approving this with that kind of density. We have to go back to what we started at 5 years ago. Now they've approved it with what we were going to do 5 years ago. In the process, again, one of those when you buy the land ahead of time,
Right.
project got downzoned to the point that they wanted this project to be open space, greenway space for the area,
which cuts down how many homes you can actually build.
Went from 140 some to 40 some.
Right.
Okay. If you own it, you don't get to change. And just because you own it and now there's only 40 instead of 146, I don't get to charge that much more to make up for what I just lost. It doesn't happen.
Right.
And that's the worry of buying the dirt before you know what you can do with it.
Right.
And the biggest misnomer in our business is people think you can buy land on a per acre price. No, you can't. Every acre is created differently and has a different value according to its usage. If a person says, well, I want to sell 400 acres and I want to sell it for this price per acre. Well, like, what if I get one home site on that 400 acres? Is it worth the same thing as if I get 500?
Right.
No, they have two things don't match up at all. You want to get paid per acre and you're a landowner, you're going to get a very low number.
Right.
I mean, very low. You go to a place like Samora, North Carolina, up next to Hyco Lake, land, even in today's world, sells for $800 to $900 an acre when it's not in prime time. But you get right over next to the lake and it might sell for $1 million a half an acre. And you're only a mile apart. Like, you go down there and you don't know what you're doing and you buy this $900 an acre stuff and you think, well, somebody over here is getting $1 million. Surely I can pay $100,000 per it. You can get killed.
Right. So go back to your early days of doing this. How did you get your first builder to go, Jim, I see what you're doing here. I'll go in with you. I'll take the risk. How did that happen for you where you got that first person? Because, you're right. you got the land, but you got to have somebody who's going to build on it too. What was that? What was that like for you?
I had already been working for a local developer and a local company called Powell and Company Realtors.
Oh yeah.
And I had been involved in marketing homes for quite a few builders for a period of time. But even though that was true, when I was the developer for the first time, I'm a neophyte. The old school builders were all scared to death of me. We always had a smaller group of builders that would come knocking on the door later. It couldn't close on quite as many lots, but needed lots desperately. A couple of those relationships that weren't being fed normally in some other way, or how I did my first development projects. In fact, I was dumb enough. I got my own contractor's license when I was doing my first neighborhood, so I could be one of the builders on those teams, not realizing, gosh, if I build houses in here and I'm a developer, I'm in competition with myself in all different kinds of ways. And I hadn't figured this out yet at the point, right? I was, I want to do it all.
Right.
I wasn't smart enough to figure it out. But I realized in that first development very quickly, the homeowners expected me to be able to sell my house cheaper than everybody else's because I was also the developer and the builder and the realtor. So certainly I would offer a discount, and I didn't offer discounts on any of those things. So unfortunately, it injured me slightly. But I decided after that first neighborhood to let my contractor's license expire because I never wanted to build another house personally again. Nothing against my home builders. I love that y'all do it.
Right.
I've built for two of my former friends in that community, and realized because I was a friend of theirs, they thought I was supposed to build it for free and give them whatever they wanted. And unfortunately, I was so immature in the process, I did that and barely made a nickel on either of those homes I delivered, and realized this is not smart. Because I'm thinking, well, I'm selling to my friends. This is going to be perfect.
Right. But it wasn't.
It was terrible. It was the absolute opposite. But those smaller guys helped me. And then I grew some of those smaller guys into really big builders. And we did it in conjunction with each other. A friend of yours, I give a lot of credit to, Doug Muley, who I think sold you this building at some point, right? Doug and I were great friends, and I respected him as a builder, but he was a small builder at the time. We kind of grew this thing up together a little bit. And he got to the point where he was building so many houses and developing lots and doing all kinds of other things. And I watched and got to, like everything I've done in my career has happened because I started being friends with somebody, and I've always been trustworthy. The one thing I would tell you, everybody, you can never put your own needs above everybody else's, because the moment you do,
good point,
it's going to injure you. Right. If you go in anything thinking, I want to help other people, it ends up helping you more than it does the people you're trying to help.
Right.
Development's no different than every other piece of your life. The builder aspect of it, once they get to a point that they trust you, the next thing they're going to say is, hey, I want more lots next time. I can't close on them all. What if you partnered with me on a section of these? Okay, one of the things I did there when I started partnering with these people, I never kept up with which lot was mine. I knew that person had 10 lots. I knew 5 of them were mine and 5 of them were ours co-owned. I didn't want to know which 5 was which. So I hired an outside person to manage those things for me and not tell me which one was mine, because I didn't even want there to be the hint that I could try to sell mine before I sold the other person's.
Right.
When I would find out, and still to this day, when I find out I'm invested in one, is after it's sold. And then I'll ask the person who holds the keys to my key. I'll say, hey, Allie, by the way, are we invested in this one? And she'll say yes or no.
Right.
And I don't react differently either way. The only reason I ask is so I know whether something's coming that maybe I need to prepare to do something else with that money, because truthfully, I don't treat it any different.
Right.
And that's how you're successful. When people trust you to treat their thing like it's yours,
right,
they really trust you.
Yeah. So, and it's so true. By the way, it's true of anything. I don't care what industry people are in. If you're doing it because you're trying to get you just never, because desperation starts to show up.
That's right.
And when desperation shows up, then it never works out well for anyone.